Meantime, President Trump hosted a listening session at the White House on Wednesday with students and families affected by the Parkland school shooting, as well as with families affected by past school shootings. During the hour-long session, parents spoke about losing their children to gun violence, including Andrew Pollock, whose daughter Meadow died in Florida last week.
I'm very angry that this happened, because it keeps happening. 9/11 happened once, and they fixed everything. How many schools, how many children have to get shot? It stops here with this administration and me. I'm not gonna sleep until it's fixed. And Mr. President, we're gonna fix it.
CBSN political contributor and national political reporter for RealClearPolitics, Caitlin Huey-Burns, joins me now. Caitlin, it was such an emotional conversation that took place, really extraordinary to watch that exchange. Was there any consensus, though, coming out of this meeting about how to address the problem? I don't want to say fix, because that's sometimes, you know, when you say that, it could be construed as perhaps being oversimplifying this issue, but any solutions that were arrived at?
Well, this was designed as a listening session, and it was quite a diverse group. You had some students from this most recent shooting and their parents. You had other parents from the Sandy Hook Elementary shooting, another parent from the Columbine shooting, and other members of different communities and that have been affected by this kind of violence. And it was really striking and really heartbreaking to listen to these stories, how compassionate and impassioned they were. And there were actually a variety of different opinions and proposals. You had some, like that father there, arguing that gun control was not the issue, that school security and safety should be the priority. You had other families and other students who said that they would like to see stricter gun control reforms. And so you did have a variety of opinions. What was interesting was what came out of the president here. He let all of these folks talk and offer their suggestions, but he offered some of his own, some of them being pretty controversial. He talked about having teachers perhaps have concealed carry permits to carry guns in the classroom to be able to fight back at the shooter. He asked the group what the response would be, and some people supported it and some people didn't. And he acknowledged himself that it was highly controversial. He also said that he's going to push for background checks, stronger background checks. So we don't really know exactly what that means, but that was a takeaway. And he also talked about raising the age limit to buy these kinds of guns. And so we'll see kind of what actually tangible policy comes out of this. But the president did signal today a willingness or a desire to get something done. But again, what that looks like remains to be seen.
And what's the political reality of all those things that you just laid out that the president mentioned? I mean, is there support on both sides of the aisle for some of these proposals?
You know, this situation feels a little bit different from the others, given the activism that we've seen from the students. You and I have covered a lot of these shootings now and the aftermath and the political fallout from this. I've been talking to a lot of people in Florida today, different people in the political realm, to kind of see what the pressure points are there. And Florida is kind of an interesting state because you're going to have a very competitive Senate race there, a competitive governor's race there, and a couple of congressional districts. And the state legislative session ends March 9th, so they only have a few weeks, and they're certainly feeling the pressure from these students who have gone to Tallahassee to protest this. And so we'll see what comes out. I think that will give us an indication of what's doable. But you know, these restrictions or bans on certain types of guns aren't going to pass. But there is broader support for background checks, and Republicans I've been talking to say that the president could offer some political cover for a lot of folks. And we've seen that happen in other debates that haven't made it through. So we'll see what the president's action is on this. That will be important.
We also know that governors from all 50 states are set to go to the White House next week to discuss solutions to gun violence. How different do you expect that meeting to be?
There will be a wide variety of opinions, but if you look at, you know, this just kind of goes to show how far-reaching gun violence is in this country. You're going to have a lot of of governors who unfortunately will have had personal experiences with this kind of thing. You've had more than 3 in Florida just over the past couple of years. So Rick Scott, the governor there, of course, a lot of attention is being paid to him right now, what he will do, and also because he's thinking about running for the Senate. And I've been talking to Democrats who say that the gun control issue this time around, they're really going to push for it. And so we'll see some activism on that side.
So we know that the president is affected by powerful images. For instance, he authorized that strike in Syria last year in response to the images of the chemical attack there. Because we've been seeing so much coverage of what took place in Florida, because these students have so very quickly come together and become politically active regarding this issue, do you think that we might potentially see more action from the White House?
It's a really great point, and I think this is something that has differentiated this from other events in the past, unfortunately. Other events, the Las Vegas shooting, there was a quick rally around the banning of bump stocks, and the momentum quickly petered out, and of course there was nothing done to address that mass shooting. The president does respond, as we've seen in various situations, to media coverage, to what he sees on the television. And when you turn on the television over the past week now, you've seen these student activists, you've seen these voices, you've seen the pressure being applied. And so certainly it seems like he is responding to that. The question is kind of how long does this momentum continue? Because momentum is absolutely key in any kind of gun debate. The students are planning another march in Washington at the end of next month. So we'll see what the conversation is like then. But keeping the attention span of this president on this issue, there could be a lot of different factors.
All right, Caitlin Huey-Burns. Caitlin, thanks so much. Always great to see you.
See you too.